Okay, this is Mark Herman back again. This is episode 6. Now, just for a continuity point of view, episode 6 is really a continuation of episode 4 because where I left us last, we had just completed the offensive contact phase. The Japanese were detected here by long-range reconnaissance aircraft of the British over here, and the Philippine invasion force was detected over here, which ended the offensive contact phase. Now then what would happen is you would have a reaction, activation, and reaction contact phase, except that when you have a surprise attack, those things don't happen. And so since this is a surprise attack, we move past all of that and we go to the advantage, we go to the lighting phase, and as we know from the Pearl Harbor attack that was in episode 5, we picked day AM. So we had a morning attack on Pearl Harbor, which has not yet happened yet, by the way. That's going to be in the very near future, but that's the time when we picked the day AM. Then we had the advantage determination phase, and because it's a surprise attack, the Japanese are automatically the advantage player. Then we have advantage movement. So let me show you what happens in advantage movement. So all the task forces get to move. You have ground and naval movement. You can do them in either order. What we want to do is we want to do naval followed by land because we want to get off the transport. So basically, this invasion force closed on Kota, Bharu. Okay, this invasion force hit Gunyan Gulf. Thank you, John Stye. Hopefully I pronounced that the way you wanted me to. And then the invasion force landed in southern Luzon, Mindanao, Brunei. I'm just going to focus on this now. All of this would happen in the same order. So all of these guys moved and they landed to their locations. And in all cases now, it's ground movement. And so the guys get off the transports at this point. Also, though, we had some overland ground movement. So the 33rd Division is starting to head towards Burma. And the Imperial Guards Division came around the corner and took Bangkok and this air base here. And because the armor's nice, but they have engineers under here somewhere. There they are. The engineers, when you overrun a base, if you have engineers, the base immediately converts to your side. And so the Japanese capture that air base, and now they have a forward air base. And as these guys come down this peninsula, those engineers will convert these things. So again, engineers are important in how you capture enemy infrastructure. Otherwise, you have to rebuild it. And so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through now that we've done advantage movement, we would have advantage air mission. So we're going to do one. So again, all of these planes up here are going to bomb both Manila and Clark. And then a lot of planes coming out of here are going to bomb Singapore. And so we're going to show you the Singapore air mission, and we're going to do the Kota Bharu ground attack. And again, the same thing would be repeated in these other locations, but I'm just going to show you those as a singular example. And so I'm now going to shift the camera, which is always a problem. And we're going to come in closer. And we're going to go through this. So what I did was, these are the air units attacking Singapore. It's a surprise attack, but they still get a detection roll as they come in for the actual air mission, and they were detected. Okay, so it's a large base, so all of these planes will get off the ground, and these guys are going to fight an air battle. These are Buffaloes going up against, in this case, I think these are Oscars, KI, whatever they are. So these are much better, and these are elite pilots. Well, this one's an elite pilot. This one's a good pilot. So we're going to pick the elite pilot as the lead, and this guy, because he's a full 6 strengths of L1, is going to add 1 to the die roll. So this guy has an anti-air strength of 8, and so this is the die roll. 5 on an 8, and again, I'm not going to. Every time I try, it's very hard to show the CRT through the screen, so you'll just have to. If you saw the earlier issue, but just to show you how it sets up, and let me just see what. And by the way, the strikes were uncoordinated. That's an important. That die roll had already occurred when they took off. So the Japanese, I had to roll badly for the Japanese, so it was an uncoordinated. And so we have 8, and we rolled. What did I say? I rolled a 5, and so. Uncoordinated strike versus cap. So this guy takes 1 hit. So he's now, that would be a 3 under there. And this guy's a 4 minus a 2. So he's a 2 firing back now. Oh, that little sucker rolled a 1. And a 2-1 versus uncoordinated is 1 hit. So these Japanese elite pilots took a hit, which is nice because you have to use the lead unit has to take the hit. And so that was a happy day for the British to shoot down some planes and not take too much damage in return. So it was they got caught off, glare in the eyes or whatever it was. So that takes care of that particular strike. Now we're going to bomb the base, and these Army bombers are going to hit the base. We're looking to score, the hits on the base without the planes on the ground is not going to be very meaningful, but here we go. Oh, the first one didn't do very well. He rolled a 9 and a 3, so 5, 3. So this is not going to cause any lasting damage. It's only 2 hits on the base. So the base is in pretty good shape. Not a great airstrike. So the Japanese are having some troubles. Maybe it's some morning fog or something. So now the famous naval air trying to go, and so the Prince of Wales is going to be target number one, and target number 2 is going to be the repulse. Well, we're not going to worry about the destroyers. So I got a 7, and let's see what happens here. Oh, that is unfortunate. That was a 0, which is a critical hit, and rolling no additional hits from the critical hit. However, a 2-engine. And I'll try to show you one of these if I can just figure out how to get my finger on all the pieces of this thing. So just to show you, we got a 7. Here we go. We got a 7. We rolled a 0. We followed this yellow line down to where my finger is. It's 2-engine. And we got 2-engine versus naval. Did I get the right line? No, I'm not on the right line. It's 7. It's this one. It didn't look right. Didn't look like enough hits. And I believe it's 3 hits. I'm just going to confirm that visually. 7, 0. Oh no, I'm not. I'm having trouble looking through the camera. It's 4 hits. That's what I thought. I knew that the number didn't look right. It's this one here. It's this 4-hitter on that yellow line there. So 4 hits would translate into 2 hits here and 2 hits on this guy because it's 1 hit, 1 hit, 2 hits, 2 hits. It was 4 hits total because I picked a primary and a tertiary. Now, if I had picked just a primary 4 hits, that would have sunk the Prince of Wales. But now we're going to hope for the second shot. We're looking to get both of them. It's a 5 now because, again, this guy's a 7 minus 2. He's only 4 steps of area. And he gets a 1. So I'm just going to do this offline because I can't do it through the camera too easily. So what did I say? It's 5, 1, 2-engine. Just making sure I'm in the right place. Yeah, so that's another 2 hits. So 1 hit on each means that this guy is up to 3 hits. I needed 3 hits. So the Prince of Wales is 3 hits, and I'll talk to, that's actually good in a way. And third hit on this one sinks, so repulse is sunk because it's 3 hits to sink the repulse, and it is gone. And this is crippled, but now it lets me bring in another rule. What's off camera, there is a submarine patrol, Japanese submarine patrol, and anytime there's a critical hit on a ship that's within a certain number of hexes, in this case it's well within that range. I'm making a hash of this, by the way, in real life these will all be on this task display. I'm just keeping them out because I can't keep reaching across this table. We'll come back to that in a moment. But oh, there's the HQ. It fell off. All right, all good. The patrol is over here, so we're gonna roll the dice, and oh, we got a 1, so that means we are actually gonna get to 1 more hit on the cripple from the submarines, and this guy is gone. So both the Prince of Wales and the repulse have been sunk through the combination of submarine. Well, the submarine took the last hit on the Prince of Wales, but the planes basically did most of the damage, and that takes care of the airstrike. Now, what would happen is, if we come back a second, there's a series of airstrikes that would take place up here, hitting Clark and Manila, and I think there's even an airstrike over here because there's a carrier down there, and so there's a bunch of, so we finished the rest of the air missions, and as I said, the first air mission before this one even occurred was Pearl Harbor. So Pearl Harbor happened, this was second, and then the other ones could be third and fourth, it doesn't really matter. And those air missions, so now we're done with the air mission phase. We look around and there's no ships in the same space, so there's no naval combat. We go to bombardment, and now we're gonna deal with the Kota Bharu. So there are cruisers here, and they have bombardment strength. So the first cruiser didn't do much. Second cruiser did a true quality check on the Indians break. So this is a broken unit right now. And a broken unit has its true quality halved round up, which is going to be helpful for the invasion, obviously. So, so this guy is broken. And we have coming at this poor soul, we have the following Japanese units. So let me just put this over here. So we got the Japanese have 2 regiments, infantry regiments, and then they have a, and this is a 1. I must have flipped it over. So this is what we got going here. And this is going to be the lead attacker. So what happens is I'm going to try to poorly show this through the camera. You'll have to forgive me for any problems that causes. But when you invade, your troop quality is halved. So if you see the attacker troop quality, you see the 3, and the Indians were a 3, but they're half round up, so they're a 2. So we're on the 11 column initially, and the 11 column is right there. And because it's clear terrain and the force ratio isn't more than 3, it's only what is it? 7 steps versus 3 steps. So we're in the middle, 6 to 16 steps. We're in an 11, and we roll a 2. So if you look, that's a 0, 1, and 2. So we're in this result here. Let me look at it. I can't read it through the camera. So it's a 1, 1 result, but it's a mandatory retreat. And so what happens now is, because the Indians were broken, they don't get to stand. They're not, they're already in bad shape. The Japanese got ashore, and I'm just going to read the rule to you. So it says mandatory retreat result. A unit that is already broken must retreat 1 hex when receiving a mandatory retreat result. The unit loses as many steps as qualified by the CRT round up, plus 1 additional. After retreating, he deactivates. And of course, the Japanese, by the way, these Japanese units all have a 2 marker on them. That's how many weeks they were activated for. And they didn't bother putting that on there. And because of the combat, they're all going to go to 1 now, because they've actually used up 1 of their cycles doing this. This guy is broken. He took 2 more steps, so he's now down to, I'll just pile these up, so 3. So his strength is 4 minus 3. So he's 1. So you got a broken battalion falling back a hex into the jungle here. And so he's going to fall back to here. Because this was, and this is a small base, so, and they have engineers, so the Kota Bharu base has been captured by the Japanese, and I'm going to put a force marker down for them because it's just, I had an 80 here. So the Japanese 80 represents, these guys will go back to they would be on the force display always, actually. And the Japanese lead unit took a hit because that was, it was a 1-1 result. And so the Japanese unit, so a battalion of Japanese troops got knocked out. To recap, the Indian forces were broken. This plane was actually destroyed in all of that. And that is the circumstance there. So the Japanese have landed at Kota Bharu, and as I said, this actually occurred historically. The landing itself, which is, as the game shows, happened before the air mission phase. We now have had the ground combat. This is full. We would also repeat this in the various locations, like in Brunei and in Manila. We would repeat all of that ground combat and bombardment stuff, but I'll spare you all of that. So there you have it, the invasion of Kota Bharu, and now we are up to the reaction players stuff, and I'll try to do one more episode just showing what that all looks like.